Hello, everybody. Reverend Stephanie Wild here, psychic medium and spiritualist minister. I'm here with another miracle moment in which I translate the text of A Course in Miracles into easy to understand, everyday language, just like what kind of what I'm going to do on my new podcast, Miracles in Manhattan. I'm going to take everyone through the lessons of A Course in Miracles, the actual course. So click on that link if you want to watch the trailer, and also you could win a psychic reading with me. So click on that link in the post there. But so I've opened up the book just before I started randomly, and this is the paragraph that it opened to. It's page 314, paragraph 1 of the text of A Course in Miracles. Okay, and this is how it goes. It is impossible to use one relationship at the expense of another and not to suffer guilt. And it is equally impossible to condemn part of a relationship and find peace within it. Under the Holy Spirit's teaching, all relationships are seen as total commitments, yet they do not conflict with one another in any way. Perfect faith in each one, for its ability to satisfy you completely, arises only from perfect faith in yourself. And this you cannot have while guilt remains. And there will be guilt as long as you accept the possibility and cherish it, that you can make a brother into what he is not, because you would have him so. Okay. Hi, Stephen. I'm translating the text of A Course in Miracles, random paragraph. I'm not doing tarot card readings right now. So this paragraph, all that means is that you cannot be completely serene and satisfied from a relationship with someone else. In order to feel completely serene and satisfied, we need to connect with infinite intelligence. We need to connect with source, because that is where perfect love is. And as long as we're expecting this relationship or that relationship to do it for us, we're always going to be dissatisfied. And then that's going to come out in anger at the people we're in relationships with, because they're disappointing us, because they're not perfect. And in fact, that is their job. It's their job to not be perfect, so that we learn spiritual lessons. And this is it. This is the spiritual lesson, is to connect with infinite intelligence and the pure love of which it is made, and then to use that to inform our relationships. So let me go through sentence by sentence. It's impossible to use one relationship at the expense of another and not to suffer guilt. And the Course defines guilt as the feeling of dissatisfaction, the feeling of unworthiness we have about ourselves. And that gets translated into anger at others, because we don't want to look at ourselves. We don't want to examine where that feeling is really coming from. And the Course just calls that guilt, because it comes from us not being in alignment with source, not being in alignment with infinite intelligence. So the Course describes that as that separation, and therefore we feel guilt, and then we have these volatile relationships and unhappy emotions and all of that. So if we're using one relationship at the expense of another, that just means that we're thinking this person's better than that one, this person's more special than that one, this person's behaving as they should and this person's behaving as they shouldn't. And you're judging everyone, as opposed to understanding and accepting that everyone is a perfect spiritual being here on earth, just trying to figure stuff out. So as long as you're doing that and thinking one's better than the other, you're going to feel angry, dissatisfied, and everything else. Okay, the next sentence. And it is equally impossible to condemn part of a relationship and find peace within it. So similarly, if you're saying something to yourself like, if only he would not be late all the time, if only she would be more polite when she's talking to my friends, or whatever it is, you're going to be angry, upset, dissatisfied, because you're not accepting that soul for the perfect spiritual soul that it is. Next sentence. Under the Holy Spirit's teaching, all relationships are seen as total commitments, yet they do not conflict with one another in any way. So yes, this just means that we are capable of fully loving every person in our life, fully loving every person on this earth without taking anything away from any other relationship. Much like a mother will say, I love all my children equally. And she does, because she loves each child with her full being, with her complete being. Now, she may still have a favorite. That's human. That's ego. Maybe she likes how this one makes her look good. And she likes how that one dresses, whatever it is. I mean, but still, underneath all of that, she loves each one fully and completely. And it doesn't take away anything from the other relationship. And likewise in life, we have friends and we enjoy each of them. And it doesn't take away from any of the other friendships, or at least it doesn't have to. Now, you can choose to partner up, because the obvious question here is, well, what about sexual and romantic relationships? Yes, you can certainly choose to partner up, but it doesn't mean that you deprive your friends of love, you deprive your children of love when you have chosen only to have sex or only to live with one other person. It doesn't mean you're judging anyone as any less. Okay, so next sentence. Perfect faith in each one, in each relationship, for its ability to satisfy you completely, arises only from perfect faith in yourself. And here's where we get to the core of the lesson. So perfect faith in ourselves means that we are connected to infinite intelligence. We are connected to source. We are connected to pure love, because we are just a drop in the ocean of infinite intelligence. So it means we experience, we understand that we are all. We are connected to all. We are all we need. And we're not dissatisfied with ourselves. Okay. And this perfect faith, you cannot have while guilt remains. So we cannot reach this level of serenity and faith in ourselves as long as we are separated from infinite intelligence, as long as we are separated from source. And here we go. And there will be guilt as long as you accept the possibility and cherish it that you can make a brother into what he is not, because you would have him so. As long as we're trying to change people, we are not going to be satisfied. We are going to feel guilt because we are separated from the perfect love that is the stuff of the universe. When we are in alignment with perfect love, we can't feel anything but pure, utter love for everybody who comes across our path. But as long as we're trying to change someone else, we are separated from that. By definition, that's how we know. If we're trying to change someone, that's how we know we are separated from source. We're separated from infinite intelligence. So the Course, I love it because it goes in spirals, right? It comes from every angle. All it's saying is stay in alignment with source, stay connected to perfect love, and you're good. Now, ego gets in the way. And so the Course, each sentence is a slightly different angle, a slightly different point of view around this central truth. And so that's all I'm doing here. So I hope that one of those angles helped you today, or twigged something, or gave you a realization, or dissolved your ego just a little bit more. But that's it. That's it. This one, I think, is very applicable to dating and dating life, because, you know, so many people have a set of parameters or a set of features that they want someone to have. They have to check all this off. And, oh, if only he weren't so cheap, you know, if only he would take me out more. No, you need to accept it. I had a boyfriend who was always late. And I decided that I liked him enough that I would see what I could do about this, about making myself happier. I used to just be enraged when people were late. I sort of so disrespectful. So this would always happen. He'd always be late. And so I thought, well, I'll say to him, you know what? We have a plan to meet at a certain time, but you are usually late. So I would like us to meet in a place where I don't mind sitting by myself for a while. So I would pick a place like a museum, and I would say, I'm not waiting for you up front, I'll be inside. So if you're an hour late, it's fine, because I'll be quite happy looking at the exhibit. Or in a coffee shop that I really loved, with a book that I really loved, or something like that, whatever it was, or the beach. But I told him, I'm never going to wait for you. I'm never going to wait for you. And I never did. And so sometimes that meant that I would get to an event and he would miss half of it, but I would really enjoy it. Nevertheless, I never judged him for it. I just arranged around it. But it took me a long time to get to that point with in life and be able to do that with someone. And I want to make sure that everyone understands that this doesn't mean that you're going to accept abuse. You're perfectly within your rights to say, I love you and I am leaving. You can certainly detach with love. That's absolutely what you should do in some circumstances. Okay, and I think this also applies to mothers and children very much. I mean, it applies everywhere, but this is how I see it applying to mothers and children. Now, it's very easy to fall into the trap, parents, of expecting your children to reflect well on you. But it's important to remember that they are separate beings with their own path to live, and it is not advisable to try to make them do what you think they should do in life, whether that's going to a certain school, going to a certain college, having certain friends, having certain interests. That will only lead to feelings of guilt, which is dissatisfaction, anger, disappointment, and so on and so on. So it's really a simple lesson today. It's like, don't try to change people to satisfy yourself. It's only going to lead to anger, disappointment, and dissatisfaction. When you feel these feelings, that's a sign to take a breath and figure out how to reconnect with source, reconnect with pure love, and accept that relationship for what it is, and stay or go as you please. So that's the miracle moment for today. page 314, paragraph 1 of the text of A Course in Miracles. And again, soon to launch podcast Miracles in Manhattan. Click in the post and you can check out the preview and maybe win a full psychic reading with me. Goodbye for now. Much love.